Hey everyone, CKY here again today, looking to do another walkthrough with you. Today we're going to be looking at Kerberoasting and using Hack the Box Machine Active. I'm very excited about this one today, having worked with Active Directory for a number of years, so I do find this area particularly interesting. So without further ado, let's get cracking with this walkthrough. Okay then, as anyone that's seen my previous videos will know, I do like to ping the box first just to make sure she's live and on the network. So we'll ping it there, and as we can see, the active box on 10.10.10.100 is live. The next step would be to start our enumeration. I'm just going to do a basic scan initially in an effort to save time. I would recommend, if you're doing these challenges, that you scan a wider range of ports just in case there is anything available out there. My initial approach is to do a limited scan initially, and depending on what those ports find, I would then target those and interrogate those further. So what I'll do is I'll pause the video here, and once the results come back, I'll be right back with you. Okay, so here's the results from our initial scan. Now from this initial scan we can actually gather quite a lot of information. We can see the port 88 is open there, which is for Kerberos. Port 139, net BIOS there. We've also got ports 389 for LDAP, 636 for secure LDAP, and we've also got ports 3268 and 3269 open there for Microsoft Active Directory, and we can tell from this that this is a domain controller. Now normally I would proceed with potentially a more investigative scan, a more aggressive scan to interrogate specific ports. However, we've got all the information we need from this at this moment in time. So what we're going to look at doing now is some SMB enumeration here of this box, just to see if there is any visible shares on this machine. So using the SMB client, we will launch that. Now we don't have a username and password, so this is going to be a null session or anonymous authentication, and as we can see from launching the command here, we do in fact have shares listed, so we are able to get a null session on this box. There is a couple of interesting shares there. Replication for one, there's users as well, but in this case we're going to look to this replication folder as being of particular interest here. So we're going to look to use the SMB client command to go and map this share and see what information we can gather from this. Apologies for the typing there, not always the greatest. You can also tell from the input there that we're having to use extra backslashes there due to character escaping. And we'll map it to the replication folder, and we should be able to connect without providing a username and password. I'll just leave that as blank, and as we can see, anonymous login has been successful. So if we do a dir command, there is an active.htb folder listed there. So rather than try and scan this contents, I'm going to just download the contents of these folder locally. So I'm going to turn the prompt off. I'm also going to set the recurse mode on, and from there we should be able to use the mget command to take down the entire contents of the directory to our local machine for further examination. And there we see the download has started there. And once this has completed, it should only take a few seconds or so. We should be able to then just disconnect and start to look into these folders to see if there's any information of particular interest. So all the files have downloaded there. We'll now exit the SMB client. I'll clear the screen to try and make this a bit easier to read for you there. And if we do an ls command, as we can see, we've got the active.htb folder there. Now what I'm going to then do is, I do know that we're after a particular file here. We're looking for an XML file, so I'm going to do a find and search for that XML file. What we're actually looking for here is the group policy file is what we're actually looking for. Group policy preferences. There's a weakness within this file. It's now been patched by Microsoft, but before that, these used to be encrypted, but the code was released into the wild. So there is an app within Kali that will allow us to decode the hash that is listed here. It's known as the C password. Now looking at this file here that we've just catted, the groups.xml, we can see there is a username there. Active.hdb is the domain, and we have a username svc_tgs. That TGS is important, but I'll come back to that. We can also see C password there, and then there's a hashed password listed there. The C password is important. That is the password for that account. So what we're going to do is we're going to copy that hash, and then we're going to use a command called gpp decrypt, which uses the password to decode this hash that was released into the wild. It has been resolved by Microsoft now, that there is a patch for that, but we can still use it on machines that are vulnerable. And as we can see, we've got a password there, gpp still standing strong 2k18, and that is for the svc_tgs account. So that gives us a username for getting into this machine, which is fantastic. So it is the TGS part of the username which is the clue here, which stands for Ticket Granting Service. That tells us that it's going to be that stage of the authentication process. So we've already got our ticket granting ticket from Active Directory, and we're going to look at exploiting the ticket granting service part. So what I would then do from here is I would use the get user SBN's Python script in conjunction with the username and password which we have harvested against the domain controller. And from this, what we're looking to do is to see if there's any service principal names, SPNs, that are registered and contain a hashed password that we might then be able to leverage to do privilege escalation. So we'll launch the command here. We've got the username, the password, then we do -dc-ip, and we'll put the IP of the domain controller in here. We will also use the -request to get the details back, and we receive an error which says Kerberoast session error, clock skew too great. Now I wouldn't worry about this. Basically what this means is that the time isn't synced up properly with the domain controller. If the time is out by more than 5 minutes, some of you may not see this error, but if the time is out by more than 5 minutes, then we need to correct this, and I'm going to show you how you can do this. Don't worry, if you don't see this error, you can skip to the next part of the video and we can take it from there. But if you do see that error, I'll show you how to correct that just now. So in order to correct the time skew error that we're seeing here, the first thing that we're going to have to do is disable the NTP service on our local machine. Now I've done a status here, service NTP status, and we can see it's running. I would expect it to be on your machine as well. And if we do a service NTP stop, that will stop it. I'm happy to put the password in there because I didn't use sudo, so not a problem, it'll still work. So we've stopped the NTP service. And the next thing we need to look at doing is manually changing the time. So if we do sudo timedate ctl set time. Now, I've previously synced this up with the domain controller, so I know the time is out by roughly 10 minutes. So you don't have to do that. So if you just set the time to roughly 10 minutes forward, as I've done here, you'll notice it doesn't update straight away, but down in the bottom right hand corner, it should, there we go, it's just updated. You can see it's not updated in the top right, but it can take a bit longer for it to update there, but it will happen, but it doesn't matter, we can carry on as required. So what we'll do is here, I will look back to the get users SPNs command, the exact same command as we ran before. And as we can see, this time we've got the administrator username and a big long hash. Now what we're going to look to do is, with this hash that we've gotten from the domain controller, we're going to copy this hash as it relates to the administrator account, and we're going to put this hash through hashcat. The idea being here that we're going to decrypt the hash, get the password, and that will give us an administrator account with which we can log into the system. So I'm going to run hashcat. I'm going to run the help file first of all and use grep so that we can get the Kerberos code number. And as we can see here, the one we're looking for is a TGS-RAP, which is code 13100. So that's the code that we need. So we need to go ahead and actually put that hash into a file. So before we run hashcat, let's put that hash into a file. We'll just use the nano hash here. Paste the hash in there, save the file, and we will now be good to go. So we'll then run hashcat with the code of 13100 against our hash file here. And we're just going to use the RawQ dictionary that's inbuilt within Kali here, which is in /usr share wordless rawq.txt. And we'll let this run through. Now, normally if I was doing this, I would actually run this on my machine out with the VM because it'd be a lot quicker. But just so we can demonstrate the walkthrough properly, I'm going to let this run through here. It should only take a minute or so before we have our results. And here we go. So we can see that hashcat has indeed cracked the hash here. We can see at the end of the hash it's got Ticketmaster 1968. So we've now managed to use Kerberoasting to get the password for the administrator account. We've got administrator and Ticketmaster 1968, which is fantastic. So what I'm then going to look to do here is use psexec in order to connect directly to the domain controller and get a shell using the administrator account with our password that we've just got, and hopefully be able to get the flags. So we've got psexec, active.htb for the domain, administrator login, password, Ticketmaster 1968 at 10.10.10.100. Hit return there, and as we can see, it's uploading the file, and hopefully we should. There we go, we've got a shell, and if we launch Who Am I, it says NT Authority System. So we now have got complete access to this machine. Just to confirm this, we will go through the directories here where the flags would be located on the Hack the Box machine. Go into the users directory. We can see the user svc_tgs. We'll go into that directory there. Then we'll go into the desktop where they're usually located. And if we list the contents, we can see user.txt. To view the contents of this, we would just do type user.txt, and this would show us the flag. As per my previous videos, I'm not going to show you that. I'll let you go through that yourself. Just to confirm, we've also got access to the administrator account. We will back up here, cd administrator, then into the desktop of the administrator, list the contents again, and we see root.txt listed there as well. To see that one, type root.txt and would get the contents of that. And that's the walkthrough completed. The only thing that remains is if you did actually manually set your time, do remember to go back and enable NTP again. We can do that by doing sudo service NTP start. Oh, sorry, I missed the command there. So we'll do sudo service NTP start, run that, And if you give it a few minutes here, the time will update. It'll happen again down the bottom right hand corner first. And there we go, it's just changed just now as I've highlighted there, but you can see it's still a bit out at the top, but that will catch up, and it's just done so. I'd like to take this opportunity to thank you for viewing. It's been very good for me. I do like these ED challenges, given that I have got extensive background in this environment, so I hope you've enjoyed it as well, and look forward to seeing you again. Thank you.